This video contains gratuitous use of profanity and uncomfortable pauses to compensate for lack of professionalism and original thought. Viewer discretion advised.
Coming to you live from Annihilus' layer of the negative zone. We bring you the Nerdy Manroom show with your host, Hassel and Monster. And Monster, I'm already tongue-tied, so this is going to be an adventure.
It's going to be one of those days. I've had a full day of talking because I was doing class and training sessions all day and talked a little bit more on those than I intended to because just we had some changes in who was going to be able to help facilitate some of it. So I was supposed to not talk at all, and I ended up talking like 3 different sections of it. So I'm like, I am a little tongue-tied myself. But coming into today, I guess this ties directly into what we're going to talk about because we're going to talk about some. There's a new Marvel movie release coming this weekend, and with that, we said, hey, surrounded by a little bit of controversy, a little bit of negative commentation so far. So I thought, hey, we thought, why would it would be fun for us to do some bad comic movie focused episodes. Let's talk about some bad comic movies, what made them bad, possibly what affected them, and then hot off the heels of doing this, I think the actor strike actually went on hiatus at 12:01 a.m. this morning.
Yeah, I keep seeing everything's pushed. Like everything was pushed already because of the writer's strike. Now the actor strike because I think Welcome to Derry got pushed until 2025.
A lot of stuff got pushed that far out because, one, the writers couldn't do anything, and 2, the actors couldn't act it while the writers were on strike because those 2 unions are so closely tied together. They're like, well, we don't want you ad-libbing stuff that's not in the script. Then the actors went on strike, and officially as of yesterday at 12, or this morning, I guess, at 12:01 a.m., they tentatively accepted the current contract that's been put in front of the union for the next 3 years. So expect this again in 3 more years, I would imagine.
Well, let me ask you this, because I'm not abreast of the situation. Like, I get what the writers are on strike about the AI bullshit, correct? What the fuck were the actors on strike for? Just did they feel the writers got something, so they needed to do something?
No. So the writers went on strike for 3 different reasons. One was the use of AI in writing scripts. Like, how was that going to be used? And is that going to put us out of work? 2 was streaming and residual rights. So like writers get paid residuals on shows just like actors do when they play again on TV. So Seinfeld played for X number of years on NBC, and then when it went to it's a rerun show, every time a rerun on TBS or TNT or wherever it did, those writers got a residual check for that. There are no residual checks for streaming because nobody really knows how much it's watched, or at least they say they don't. I'm pretty sure there's charts saying how much it's watched.
Yeah.
But there was no streaming residuals. It's just like, oh, it exists and it's on streaming, so you don't get paid for it again. We paid you one time for it.
See, that's bullshit because that was literally one of the reasons why they said that the Flash they considered it a flop even on streaming because it wasn't streamed enough. So there has to be a tracking way.
Speaking of Black Friday sales, real quick sidebar, there's always a ton of movies on sale. So if I don't buy a few comic movies and stuff from my collection, because I still like to have DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff just for
you never know.
Internet goes out, right? So I like to have these in my collection so I can still watch them. Even if I don't like them, sometimes I will still pick them up just because they're a DC Universe movie or a Marvel movie or whatever.
And you're a completist.
Yeah. So The Flash went on an early Black Friday sale for less than $10 on Amazon this week.
Wow.
I'm like, damn, it's the first week in November and it's already under $10. So I did purchase it this week.
Just what I might need to. They need to.
I'm not sure if it still is. It was it said, no pun intended, it was a flash sale for the day. But I was like,
hey.
It was like $9.99. I was like, yeah, I'll pay that for it because I was waiting on the Black Friday sale to go pick it up for $5 or $7. The only other movie I saw like that was Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
Shazam
was it $7 on Walmart. already this week.
It's probably
However,
about 3 too much.
they must have had it already planned to, or they must have had low stock, I guess, when they put that on, because I went on there the day it showed it. Hey, it dropped the price because I had it saved in my list of the movies I want to pick up at Black Friday, and it popped up and said low price alert. 10 minutes later, it's sold out. So they must have had very, very low stock of it. But back to the strike, as we were talking about, though. So the streaming residual stuff was the other writer thing. There was a third thing in the writer strike, but I don't remember what it was. It was kind of the weakest out of the 3 points, but the actors went on strike for the streaming residual stuff as well, because they're not getting paid. They're not getting the checks they used to. Now, I will agree that if it's one of these big name actors, like you see Jack Black on the picket line and stuff, and I'm using him as an example because he's not he's not The Rock, he's not the most overpaid person in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
But he's paid very well for his movies. He makes millions of dollars when he does them, even if it's only in the single digit millions, it's still millions. And he works 6 to 9 months to make a movie, typically is what they take. And they got to get prepared for it and this and that, depending on what's going on with it. But when I see somebody like him on the picket line, I'm like, I have no sympathy for you. You make enough money off what you do. But I do understand all these actors who are in the union who are bit part actors, or they're in the union and they just get 5 seconds on screen time here, or they get a role here and there to pay very little on a lifetime movie.
Your actors like star in these series that are on CW, and they go they live in streaming services after that. So I get it, because they know they wouldn't get royalties that you would get, where it be played on reruns on TNT or some shit like that. If you're on
one like a Supernatural or Smallville that was like a big money maker for the CW or something, they were they making millions off that show? No. Were they making hundreds of thousands? Probably so. But the folks on something like a Nancy Drew that's on there that's not very popular or even pushed on that show platform, they're probably making $30,000 to $50,000 a year. But they put in more time for it. But then, if you have a what do they call them? Recurring guest who just pops up every now and then, but they're not in anything else, they might only make $15,000 to $20,000 a year for their role in that. And they're like, well, it played again, but you didn't give me any residuals. So I kind of get their point. And the extras who go on in Hollywood, I kind of get their point. Like, we're extras. We don't get paid pennies on the dollar for this stuff. I get their point for it. But everybody who's in that union should not have been engaged in this to the level they were, because I'm like, you didn't do anything to help yourself. And I give props to a few of them who went out there and said, okay, I agree in principle for these other people. I don't need any more. Stephen Amell was one of those who played, Green Arrow in the Arrow series. He's like, this strike does nothing but hurt the rest of us because none of us are working right now. He's like, and I do agree that these folks should be paid more. He said, but why should they pay me more? He said, I made plenty off of my show Arrow and Heels. He said, I'm not going to go argue about that because I made my money.
Yeah.
But I do agree with arguing for the other people. So it's like, okay, I get his point. Give the other people more money, but don't pay all these other folks all this money.
Yeah.
Put something in the streaming deal.
Yeah, I don't think guys like Jack Black and The Rock are hurt.
No, and then there was stuff in their argument too about the AI for extras and stuff, and just recreating a whole background of people from like 5 people working or whatever. And I don't know what all shook out in it, but apparently they agreed in principle on all of it and have it set up to sign off, but they still haven't signed the contract. But that was it's tentatively accepted, and just they're waiting to sign everything, get all the final verbiage in.
So in other words, 2024 will be about almost as abysmal as 2023 is movie wise.
Probably so. And the other problem is all this stuff is just going to drive the theaters out of business, because theaters are already suffering. Now it's going to cost more to go watch a movie just so they can pay these actors this more money. Streaming is going to go up, because that was the other thing is the last contract negotiation that broke down a couple weeks ago was because they said, hey, you should pay us X amount of every subscriber you get. And they're like, whoa, hold on. Subscribers
I see where even like your paid formats of stuff like HBO Max or the Max, whatever you want to call it now, they're going to start having commercials. Even for the paid versions. And any of the others that you have a basic paid and then a premium now.
Disney just went up like $5.
Yeah.
Mine was $7.99. It's over $11 now.
Yeah, they're just creeping up slowly. And before long, we'll be right back to where you're paying just as damn much as you were paying for satellite, even if you stream everything.
And the whole thing about the subscribers I didn't get was the actor said, well, you should, since you don't pay us on residuals on this, you should pay the Actors Guild, the union itself, X amount of dollars, some percentage, I don't remember what it was, for every subscriber you have. So they're like, and just in theory, and I don't remember the numbers, but let's say if they're going to get 10% of it, 5 or 10% of every subscriber. So for my $10, they're going to get $1 to the Actor Guild. But that goes to the guild. So the question was, one of the questions that one of the streaming platforms gave back to them was like, for one, why should we pay you for subscribers? Because yes, they subscribe to watch shows and you act in the shows, but do we know if they're subscribing to watch this reality show that's not part of this union, or an old show that's already been paid for multiple times, or are they subscribing to watch your new show that you're putting out?
Ooh.
The other part of that was they said, hey, at the same time, why should I pay you a portion of this money to your guild? What's the guild going to do with it? Are you going to split this up and give it to the underpaid actors, or are you going to split this up to give to everybody, or are you just going to hold it for the Actors Guild itself for the union? And there was never, I don't think, a clear answer on that. And they were like, that's when their lawyer jumped in and said, well, you're just accusing us of taking your money and spun it a different way. And they're like, no, we asked, what are you going to do with it? What's it for? And they got no answer.
Yeah, because I promise you, still, unfortunately, if they get that money, what'll happen is your bigger actors will get a large portion of the pie after what the guild gets. The guild will get 50%, and they'll split the other 50% up. Will be 40% of that will be for the large actors, and another 10 will be divvied up amongst the peons, the extras, the guys that made $200 for that role.
And I'm not sure that they have the best people negotiating on the side of the actors either, because I'm not nothing against her as her, but I'm just not sure that Fran Drescher, the nanny, who is in charge of the Actors Guild, is the right person to be in charge, because after the studios walked away from the table from that last little bit about the whole subscription thing, George Clooney walked in and said, well, here's a plan that could actually use that money, and this is how we could divvy it out, handed it to him, and they told him, and Fran Drescher and all of them told him, no, we're not taking your plan, get out the door. we don't even want to talk about this with the studio. So I'm like, so you got a big name actor who's got plenty of money and ain't hurting for it, so his plan is probably not that bad, and it's not going to like overpay him, hand you something, and you're like, go away, please.
Clooney's actually a fairly intelligent guy, so I feel like he would probably have a pretty solid plan.
I think so too. But we have digressed on that point for quite a little bit, so I guess we can move our way back to, I mean, it ties somewhat to our topics, but let's move back to hit some Geek Week updates really quick, and then we'll get into the focus topic, because I don't have a ton of Geek Week updates, but I went first last week, so I'll let you go first.
My Geek Week is pretty abysmal. I have been working to the bone this last week. I did receive my Flint and Crimson Alley Viper in courtesy of Monster and Cobra. Go Cobra. They arrived yesterday. They're in sound shape, and I actually just opened the box just moments ago, actually. So plan on opening Flint in the next couple of days and displaying him. I think I'm going to actually leave the Alley Viper in the box, though, just because I have the OG version I displayed. I don't know if I really need a Crimson version of that. It's one of those things I think he was one I just had to have because he's never been done before. So it's like, fuck, let me get him. So, yeah, that was what it was. Georgia Bulldogs kicked ass last Saturday. They've been talking pretty ugly for a while there, but they did kick ass. Falcons not so much. So the Falcons are pretty well done for. I'm hoping they clean the house, but we're only 6 years into a rebuilding decade, so hey, we got 4 more years of that shit. And yeah, that's pretty much my Geek Week. Monster's been pretty slim.
Mine has too. I've been busy. I haven't had time to do much of anything. I did. Like I said, I did buy that Flash movie, and I bought one other movie at the same time that was under $10, and it was Quantumania, because I had not picked up Ant-Man and the Wasp yet. But I picked up both of them. Actually, I think it was actually 12, and Flash was 9. So, but I did order those. I got those in. I did finally get a new bookcase and put it up. I tried to go buy a Detox, but couldn't get one in stock, and their replacement, the Baladen or whatever it's called, was not in stock, and it wasn't going to be until the middle of November. I was like, no, I got to move some stuff and open some things. So finally got a new bookcase, set it up. I did put on there. The only thing I put in there so far is I moved my Red Ranger, my Forever Red Power Ranger display out of my DTOF and put them on there. And then I moved my Thunder Megazord and my Ninja Rangers and added the other Omega Rangers to that set. So I will put a picture of it somewhere. Here.
That was pretty badass, people. He sent me a sneak peek of it. It was pretty nice.
I'll drop a picture of it in on here, but I had to stop after that. I haven't even had a chance to open any of my G.I. Joes, which is what the majority of the items that I have are to open. But that's because I ran out of flight stands, and I didn't realize I was out of flight stands, so I was looking for one. Because I wanted to put the Steel Core Brigade, because they've got the jetpacks, I was going to put them on a flight stand. And then the risers, display risers, to put them at different heights so that you could see all the characters. I only had one left when I finished up my Ranger set, and I was like, well, crap, I need to order more. So I ordered all that stuff. It popped in yesterday from Amazon, but last night I had to go to bed early because I had to be up early this morning for work, and then tonight we're recording, so I haven't actually put any of my Joes out. So that's probably a weekend project. It's going to take a couple of days, though, because I want to split up different teams and different people. I'm like, all right, these folks I really want to be here together on a first tier. And, you know, like I love both Duke and Flint, but I want Duke on my first tier shelf and Flint to be my leader character on the second tier shelf. And I'm like, but I want Shipwreck on the first tier. I want Lady J on the same one with Flint. So I've just got to work all that out and put them in there. But I haven't started on that. I do need to give a shout out because we talked about Scott from Hasbro Pulse last week, replacing my Chuckles and getting it here. Not only did he get it here by Saturday, and I talked to him on like Wednesday. I got it by Saturday, and the replacement was actually in much better shape and a better box than the first one. The first one wasn't bad by any means. There's some spots where the box had been dinged up and stuff. This one arrived in mint condition, so I'm opening the original one that arrived. This one's going on the shelf in the box. So Scott came through for me. So
Scott.
Big props, Scott. But after that, that was pretty much all of my Geek Week. I haven't really watched anything. I actually turned on Big Bang Theory and had it playing in the background as I worked for 2 hours on Power Rangers and stuff, and just
I pretty much slept through Raw this week. AEW was there was no good Christian Cage segment this week. I was let down by that yesterday. There was no Christian Cage "I'm Your Daddy" segment. So as far as Strickland Hangman Man was actually pretty good. I will say that though.
I haven't watched any wrestling in the last few weeks that I didn't fall asleep to. Even putting the bookcase together, we were watching in the background the Crown Jewel with LA Knight, and it's like we fast forwarded through everything except for LA Knight and Roman.
Dude, how much of it, just your take on this? How much? I will go into the topic, but how much of a letdown was it? I mean, you knew LA Knight obviously wasn't winning, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But how much did it seem like they continue to miss the boat here? We're keeping this going.
I got why he didn't beat Roman. I as much as I don't like that, I think they need to push him. I understood why he didn't get that, and it'd be great if they continue him in the chase for it. Yeah. My problem is I don't think they'll continue the chase, and that's where my letdown will be.
It's almost like he'll go and flounder off now. That's what I worry about, which is crazy. He's your number one merchant seller right now. He's actually your number one face you got going popularity wise. It doesn't make sense. I mean, and like I really hope they're not hell bent on him breaking Hogan's record, because I looked at some stats the other day and I posted them on our Instagram, and Facebook also for anyone who follows. But like he'd have to keep the title till next September to beat Hogan's 4-year reign. The thing is, Hogan had like a ridiculous amount of defenses in those 4 years.
Yeah.
Roman is at 54 defenses. So if he were to actually defend the title every month between now and then, he's only up to 66. But the thing is, he's not going to do that. He's not going to defend the title on SmackDown every week. He's not going to defend the title monthly. Oh. He'll only appear on, let's see, he just was here. He'll be at Survivor Series. He won't be on anything again to Royal Rumble. And then from Rumble on, it will be Mania. He'll do 3 more pay-per-views between now and April. So that's 3 more defenses at best.
But this is the point I brought up earlier. Can we really say that Rome? Everybody's like Roman's great and he's God mode or whatever. Can we really say that? Because he don't defend that belt at all.
No, and Seth's become the same way. He literally just in his first defense on Raw in 4 months. He's only been champion 5 months.
How can you say that about him? He's the workhorse. He's that breakneck pace he's got.
I'd have put that strap on Nakamura so fast his head would have spun.
If they'd have said that one more time in that pay-per-view about his breakneck pace, they brought it up so many times. I was like, I'm not even watching this match, and I don't even want to hear this crap anymore.
He doesn't even wrestle. He comes out here looking stupid and does that horrible laugh. I want to punch him in the face every time I hear it. Like, you little weasel, I want to punch you and me powerbomb you.
Oh, we could get stuck on wrestling for a while. So let's move to our focus topic before we do. So we decided we were going to do bad comic movies, and we said the idea of this was what makes a bad comic movie as well as what some of those were. But I think we each picked 5 each and then had some honorable mentions and just wanted to discuss not just what they were, but why they were bad. So very similar to some of our top list or our bottom list, whatever you want to call them. This is going to be kind of the same way. We'll go back and forth with them. I think the key points here, though, are these movies are ones that were either poorly made, so they are a bad movie or a bad translation of a comic, or maybe they were made poor by the actors and the studios and the lack of direction, the disengagement with the audience, something along those lines. And I bring that up because one of mine for sure is going to be that way. And then what we did was list these out like we always do, and they're in no particular order. They're not, this is the worst, this and that. But as we discuss each movie, we're going to talk about why it was bad, and then we'd love to hear your thoughts on these, or if we missed any, feel free to share your list or jump in and expand upon ours. But Hassel, I went first last time, so I think you should get the chance to go first this time with your first movie.
I'm going to start off with one that's almost a doomed franchise. The Fantastic Four. So, just hear me out for a second. Hear me out. You got this 1994 shit fest of a Roger Corman movie that typically never saw the light of day. But it's a fun, cheesy comedy comic, however you want to put it. Then they actually got a decent run in the early 2000s. Those movies aren't bad. They got some cheese factor in both of 1 and 2, but I do actually enjoy those. However, it's the compliment sandwich. That 2015 steaming pile of shit.
Yeah.
That really, I don't even see how you consider it Fantastic Four.
I don't, which is why I didn't include it in my list. I skipped over it because I was like, that's not really even a comic book movie. I don't even know what they were doing there.
So I don't know. It's almost like, for whatever reason, anyone should be able to make this a home run with the Fantastic Four. It's a great story, great origin, great characters. How you can fuck that up, especially if you got Dr. Doom in the movie. And they not only had Dr. Doom in these movies, he was a podcaster. What the fuck? So I had to start there. I was like, you know what? We're going to set the tone, and that's what we're going with.
That is a horrible, horrible movie. Like I said, I didn't include it because I just look at it and I'm like, you took the name of a comic book, but that is not a comic book movie. I'm sorry. There is nothing about it that is Fantastic Four other than the names of the characters and the name of the movie. So I just kind of disown it completely. So I'm going to come out the gate swinging, and I'm going to pick up one that's I thought was actually a good movie itself. The plot was decent. Most of the acting was pretty decent. There was some spots here and there, but the plot was good. And I actually enjoyed it as a fun romp just to watch it. It was not a bad movie. What made it bad is the controversy around it because of the actors. One actor in particular, their actions outside of the movie. And I'm not talking about Ezra Miller, and I'm not talking about the Flash. I'm not talking about what they do.
I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
What I'm talking about with this is the fact that they came out and insulted the comic book fans after making the movie, made the movie sound like it was not made for the fans, and then talked their character up so much in the team ensemble that they were later in that all the rest of the cast was like, you could just see the disgust in their face every time they had to do press conferences with them.
Oh, that was gold. That was gold.
So if anybody hasn't figured it out by now, it's the first Captain Marvel movie.
Yes.
Which is the movie that's coming out this weekend is the new Captain Marvel. And yes, I do have tickets, and yes, I'm going to go watch it, but I'm not a fan of Brie Larson.
No.
Her portrayal of Carol Danvers wasn't bad in the movie, and the movie plot wasn't bad.
She's actually a good actor. Like, if she would set her personal opinions and her politics aside and just shut her fucking mouth in front of the mic, a live mic, she's good. She's a good actor. Like, I literally would not watch this movie for the longest fucking time, just solely because of her personal actions. And then finally, at some point, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give this movie a chance. And it was on streaming, and I really fucking enjoyed it. It was a great movie.
The movie itself is not a
but
bad
she
movie.
is so fucking off-putting.
So and let's clarify this. So for everybody, this is not us anti-feminism. This is not us against the female character. Because if you ask me what one of my favorite comic book movies of the last few years was Wonder Woman, I thought the first Wonder Woman was fantastic. And actually, in the Marvels, the new Captain Marvel movie, I am so excited to see Spectrum, and I think her name's Tiana Paris or something is the actress who plays her. She does a great job as her, and I love the girl who played Miss Marvel, Iman Vellani. She is fantastically funny in that Miss Marvel show, and I'm looking forward to seeing her on the big screen. And I give her props because she is actually writing the current Miss Marvel New Mutant comic.
Really?
So she's such a big fan. She's actually writing the plot. And I think somebody else is doing the dialogue stuff, but she's writing the plots of the current comic. I was like, that's a true fan.
Cool points.
What I didn't care for with Brie Larson and her Carol Danvers was she goes on TV right before the movie comes out and says, "Well, this is not made for the 40-year-old male comic book fan." Like, who do you think is watching it?
Yeah. We're kind of your basis lady.
She insulted the fan base, and everybody's like, really? But then they're like, okay, we're still going to go watch it. And then she gets on interviews with the other characters and talks about how powerful her character is and how she's the most important. And you got the guy playing Thor sitting right next to her, and he's like, really? Okay, whatever. And you could tell he was just like,
but you know what? They placated her ego a lot in the movies because they did make her far more powerful in that cinematic universe than that character. I mean, not that she's a pushover by no means in the comics,
right?
But they did make her like she could almost hold her own with Thanos there. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no.
And I'm fine with the actors going on press junkets and doing like the playful banter back and forth. Like, it's one of the funniest things in the world to watch Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, and Tom Holland get on a panel together because they insult the crap out, roast each other hardcore, and then laugh about it. But when she would say something, whether it was roasting or trying to be funny or trying to
no one liked
leave it, everybody just kind of looked at her with a stoic face, like, all right. Like, it was like, dude, you have made me not want to watch the movie. I still watched it because I'm a completionist, but it made me not even want to just from her actions.
She had no chemistry, real chemistry with any of the other actors, and it was very apparent.
No, so I will. That's my most controversial one. So I will leave that there, and I'll let you take the next one.
Well, I done picked on. We've done picked on Marvel for a little bit, so I'm gonna swing back in the direction of DC, and I've got to get Batman and Robin.
That made my honorable mentions.
That movie, holy shit! What a clusterfuck!
I felt like it got that bad because I'm fine with putting some campy stuff in a Batman and Robin movie because we grew up on the '66 Batman somewhat in reruns.
Fair enough.
But it's like they were doing it just to do it, and it was like not working at all, and nobody saw that it wasn't working.
Yeah, well, I'm okay. Tim Burton set the bar so high with Batman and Batman Returns. Then Schumacher comes on board, and it's like the studio didn't quite turn him loose with Batman Forever. You know, he got some of that Batman '66 in there a little bit, but you still had a little of the overtone of the darkness from the Burton verse, so to speak. And that is what that is. That's the Burton verse. And then comes along Batman and Robin. And it's like I just said, here, do what you want. All of a sudden, and I don't know how much input Arnold had on this. And maybe Arnold was a big fan of the Adam West series growing up, and I don't know if Clooney was or what, but holy shit, they just wow, wow, that was awful. I mean, from fucking Bane to fucking Arnold, brutal, brutal. And bat nipples, yeah, bat nipples.
So the campiness of that one kind of ruined that one for you, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Schumacher, and the thing is, it's crazy to believe this man directed Lost Boys, one of the greatest fucking vampire movies ever, as far as your hip, cool, teen vampires. And then it does that. I mean, it's like he just took I Still Believe portion of the Lost Boys and spread it out over 2 hours with Batman.
I can't say anything back to that. But while we're on that, like I said, I had that in honorable mentions. But since we're on DC and we're talking Batman, I do have a Batman in my bottom 5, I guess I should say, list, and that was the recent The Batman. Because
I still haven't watched that.
You talk about Schumacher not really getting what they wanted to do with the character. This movie had no clue who Batman was and what they wanted to do with it, at least in my opinion. From a movie standpoint, okay, it wasn't a bad movie. If I'm watching it as the Batman, I didn't see the Batman anywhere in this movie. I had emo Bruce Wayne, which never has worked and never will work, and nobody ever even tries that because Bruce Wayne is the facade he plays, and it's all happy-go-lucky.
What the fuck was up with fucking the Riddler?
That was my next point. He wasn't terrible as the Riddler, but at the same time, it didn't really fit. And the Batman was so damn dumb in this movie. He didn't figure out anything. World's greatest detective, but the Riddler had to tell him everything, every step he took. Oh, hey, this is what I actually meant. Oh, no, you didn't get that. This is what it actually means. And as far as his fighting prowess and ability, he took a butt whooping most of the time. The only reason he survived that movie is because he somehow had fully Superman level bulletproof armor. He's taking high caliber gunshots to the chest.
But he's year 1 Batman monster. Year 1.
Even year 1 Batman knew how. Year 1 Batman might have gotten beat down.
Yeah.
But year 1 Batman was still one of the smartest detectives in the world, if not the smartest already.
That's one of the ones I haven't been able to bring myself to watch. Like, some of them are like, I put them off, and then finally I just like, you know what? Fuck it, I'll do it. That one has not graced my screen.
The one
yet.
redeeming quality in that movie to me at all was the Penguin. Because that was a great performance by, was that Colin Farrell that was the Penguin?
Yeah.
That he did a great performance. Everybody else, they might have done okay performances for some character, but it damn sure wasn't the Batman and his rogues gallery.
What the fuck was up with that Joker? And the little post-credit, was a post-credit scene, maybe, or
yeah. That I don't even think they ever show him. They just have him laughing in Arkham Cell.
Well, yes, there's pictures online of what the. I don't know. It's pretty brutal looking. It's pretty brutal.
So what do you have next?
Wolverine Origins.
Really?
Yes. The Deadpool alone.
The first one, you mean? Yeah, okay.
Yes. I mean, you got a lot of potential for that movie to be great. They actually delve all the way back into Wolverine's origin, literally from, the birthing in the old days up. I will say I love their selection for with Lynn Shiver as Victor Creed and playing Sabretooth. I thought he done a great job, even though he doesn't have the size. I mean, he's a tall dude, but he's not as bulky, I guess.
But his characterization was dead on, I thought.
He was spot on Creed. I mean, he was spot the fuck on. I loved it. He done a good job. And I guess, opposite of Hugh Jackman, it still worked. So that was like a win. Like that part there was like, okay. Blob done pretty good. And I guess early Wade Wilson didn't bother me. But from there, it just kind of goes downhill. You get bastardized portions of what's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I guess it's more to me, it's from a fanboy feel. Because you keep getting these little snippets where they're on the right track. Oh shit, we just took a hard right. Oh, we're straightening up. No, we just went back. Like you keep doing
That's
that
a fair
right,
assessment.
and you're circling around and it just gets bad.
Yeah, that's one that doesn't typically hit my radar too often, whether good or bad. It's just one of those that I watched. I can watch it again if it was on TV and I didn't have anything else to watch, but I just don't seek it out. I got more disgusted with the second Wolverine movie when they took the adamantium sword and cut off his claws and stuff. I'm like, how's he supposed to recover from that? Because how's the bone growing back? Yeah.
Yeah,
That part was so confusing. It made no sense
on
to me.
that one house, like, oh, this is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say, look wise, that was probably the best look for Logan.
Oh yeah. I'm not disputing that. It was just that one scene
and whatnot. Yeah, that was a fail. I found Silver Samurai to be lacking.
Yeah, I can agree with that. So I will give you my next one, and my next one is predicated on the fact that it makes no freaking sense at all. And even though I love the rest of this franchise, I can't watch this one movie. I can watch it if the kid wanted to see it, but like even then, I'm like, it's just so hard to get through. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
Oh man,
Turtles in Time. Yeah,
dude, I couldn't even like it as a child.
It makes no sense. It's like completely discombobulated from everything they do. I'm like, they're traveling through time with this lantern and what? I don't know. Huh?
That's where some movie executives said, you know what we should do? Samurai. That's what we need.
Yeah. I'm like, this makes no sense. They're training the arts of ninjutsu. Why would they even put on samurai armor? They would attack the samurai. That's mortal enemies.
Why couldn't we have just had the samurai rabbit show up? And I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it, but
Usagi
I know the character. That guy. Why not just have a movie with him showing up in modern times?
Well, that could have been far better than what we got. And then, I mean, even as bad as the last two live action Ninja Turtles were, I can watch them and still say, okay, I don't like their look necessarily.
You know, there's enough fan service in both. Even though the first one you go into it knowing, okay, this is a Michael Bay movie.
Yeah.
But there's enough fan service in the second one with like Bebop, Rocksteady, a Super Shredder, Krang. There's enough there that you can kind of say, you know what, I like this. So I can deal with that. I still love Ninja Turtles 1 and 2. Great.
Yes.
That third one was trash.
And even in those new ones, like even in the first one, that scene in the elevator where they regress into their teenage selves and start playing the music, doing the beatbox, and I was like,
yeah,
I can still enjoy that, but I can't enjoy anything out of Ninja Turtles 3. I'm sorry, it was just bad.
I mean, why do you think that? I mean, and this is a hypothetical, because their rogues gallery is pretty damn deep. I mean, you could do a toy line with just the rogue gallery. Why wouldn't you just have a movie that had, I don't know, Rat King, Baxter Stockman, Leatherhead, somebody? I mean, you did not have to have another movie with Shredder.
No, it's just the studio trying to push the fact of they always want Shredder in it, and then they didn't get that in the third movie. They want to do something different, but they went way left field. So, like, why didn't you just do a movie with Leatherhead or the Rat King, like you said? They're like, no, we just need to put them. We need to have them time travel.
It almost makes you feel like some executive said, you know what, my kid really likes samurai.
Might have been. So I'm down to 2. You should be down to 2 as well, right?
I am. And I got 2 jewels.
I've got one that you probably wouldn't have thought of and one that you're going to be like, yeah.
So I have Steel, starring Shaquille O'Neal. Next. What the fuck was up with that helmet?
As bad as that was, I still like the movie because I like the character so much.
You know what? The story wasn't terrible. It's just a poorly produced comic book movie. You can tell the studio did not put money in the right places.
They were like, we got to do this to placate this star over here so he might come back and do something else. Yeah. But we're not going to put a lot of money and thought into it. Hire the cheapest writer and director you can find. Visual effects, we don't do those. Just just make a
Here's
styrofoam
$60,
face
kid.
mask.
Go get a foam suit.
Pretty much, yeah.
Don't use 2 cans of spray paint though. Just one.
Just one. That is a good one. That's one I hadn't thought about in a long time too. So since we're back on DC off of that, I'm gonna give you my next one. It's The Flash. I'm a huge Flash fan. I love Barry Allen. He's one of my top tier characters, top 2 to 3 single characters, and that movie was just a shit show of discombobulated ideas.
It was all over the fucking place, and it was like a colossal financial disaster. They lost like what, $200 million, I believe it was, somewhere in this neighborhood. A fucking brutal amount of money.
And
but the only reason I couldn't just completely shit on the movie was just Michael Keaton alone. Just seeing him on the big screen as Batman again, it was just enough to make it watchable for me.
But to me, even what he did in that movie, as good as he might have been, just could not save what the disaster was.
Oh no, it didn't pull the ship up. Titanic still went down. As
bad as the outside of the actor realm stuff with Ezra Miller was, and whatever weird shit he was into, that didn't turn me off to the movie as much as the fact of the movie and the plot itself. And in that one very cringe scene in the beginning where he's saving the fallen babies, I was like, this is some shit here. After I saw that, I was like, I'm just ready not to even watch the rest of this now. But
it almost was like Andy Muschietti said, let's see what we can get away with here. What can we budget into this?
Yeah, but the plot was just so, I don't know, just so disjointed. I couldn't get into it.
I can give Michael Keaton cool points, and I can say Ezra Miller, nutcase or not, he done a great job of playing 2 different versions of Barry, making them distinguishable enough to where you felt like it was just 2 cats,
2 different versions of the same character. But I cannot.
Yeah, almost like brothers, more like brothers.
My argument back to that is he was great at playing 2 different versions of one singular character, but he was terrible at playing any singular version of Barry Allen. Neither one of those characters was Barry Allen.
That's Wally West all day long.
I wouldn't even go that far. I don't even think he was really Wally, but yeah, he was. I don't know, his characterizations were great, how he separated them, but just him trying to play a specific character was not working for me.
Fair enough.
So what do you have for your last one, sir?
Ooh. While we're still beating up DC, I got the knockout punch for this motherfucker. Catwoman.
That is like Fantastic Four. I'm like, it has
even with Sharon Stone could not save this movie.
I look at that one like that Fantastic Four when you talked about. I'm like, it's got the name, but it's not a comic book movie.
It wasn't even Selena Kyle. Like, what the fuck? You're gonna do Catwoman without Selena Kyle?
Yeah.
It was not perfect.
God, no, it was horrible. I couldn't stand. I don't think I've ever even finished watching that movie. I have tried multiple times. I just can't get past like the first.
I think I saw like 5 minutes of it, and it was like a scene between her and Sharon Stone. It was like on TBS or TNT, and I was like, "Ooh, this is bad." And I said, "No," and I just kept going. I was like,
"Yeah."
Like, you got certain movies that even if they're on network television, certain networks you'll watch, but you feel like these movies should be regulated to maybe. Not even FX. Like these are CW network movies at best.
Oh, that's a bad thought. So my last one is one that you will never see coming because you probably never thought about it. But I had to look at this one and say, you know what? For a character that's as old as this is, it should work because it's in a noir type setting. It has a fantastic villain because Samuel Jackson is playing the villain. The Spirit.
Ooh. Damn, I forgot they made that movie.
I forgot what happens in the movie is how bad it was. I was like, I remember it was made, but shit, I've watched it and I don't even remember what happened in it.
Wow.
I had to go on Wikipedia and read the plot just to remember what the fuck happened. Well, who was Samuel Jackson in this movie? Because I know he was in it, but damn. I'd rather see snakes on the plane.
Motherfucking plane.
But yeah, that was one that I was like, you know what? I have to put this on my list because It had everything that the comic book movie should have. And it's based on a comic book that's very popular, and there's a lot of awards named after the writer and creator of this character. And this movie was so bad, I can't even remember it. And I remember a lot of good comic stuff, a lot of bad comic stuff I remember. If you recall, was it you or Alan, one of y'all, Big Rob, I should say, bought me a Marvel game that had it was a Trivial Pursuit game, and it had 5 questions per card. We went through the entire thing, and I think I missed like 19 questions out of 200 cards with 5 questions on a piece on it.
I didn't think it was that many. Well, we were all just like...
It was somewhere between 19 and 20. I was like, I can remember all that, and I can't even remember what happened in this movie. This must have been really bad.
Holy shit, I forgot about that one. You know, I was kind of astounded. Like I was just kind of, what little research I was able to put in this week, like I said, it'd been crazy. I was looking around at just, what the internet had, as far as some of theirs. They actually had the Shadow on their several lists. I was surprised because whether you're a Baldwin fan or not, I actually really enjoyed the Shadow as a kid.
That was a good adaptation of that comic at that time.
Yeah.
If you did it today, it'd be 10 times better.
Oh, God,
sure.
Yeah.
But it was really good for its time.
Well, it was a big budget movie back then, I guess. But it just, I don't know. I mean, it holds the test of time. I mean, what a practical and visual effects they did. Don't look cheesy still. He was able to cloud the minds of men. And we got a, early glimpse of Magneto as a goofball professor. I mean, it holds up. By the way, I was quite surprised to see it made some list.
That is a surprise, really. Huh. I enjoyed that. That's one of my favorite. I mean,
the dagger was always cool to me. That was like one of the coolest parts of the movie.
That dagger was cool, especially like when it would bite his hand or bite his hand.
Yeah, it'd bite his ass. It's like reminds me of Mittens.
So he could play in his debut.
So what do you have in the way of honorable mentions, Monster?
So how many do you have in honorable mentions? And we'll go back and forth, I guess.
I didn't really have a lot of honorable mentions. Yeah, I don't really have a lot of honorable mentions. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some that just...
I've only got 4.
Okay.
And I'm sure there are some that I've missed because, again, we do these lists and sometimes we forget stuff. But first one, I'm going to start off with one that I thought was not that bad, but at the same time, you look back at it compared to what's been made around that time and since, it made it look bad, and I'm going to go with Green Lantern. And that's one of my other top 3 characters along with the Flash, and I'm like, both my guys, they get no love.
Yeah, that movie was... You talk about not true to the essence of the character. That was... Yeah. The comedic shit was not Hal Jordan at all. They done okay with, I guess, Hector Hammond. I was kind of like, it's cringe, but I mean, okay, I can see it at least. Parallax, that was fucking brutal. I mean, fucking brutal. Bad. Like, by far the coolest portion of this movie was Sinestro. Because they got Sinestro right. Like, his look is right, his characterization is right. I hated what they did with Kilowog. But I did like Sinestro, and it was cool at the end. It was like, I had hell of hope, I guess, when I seen him turning yellow. And I was like, okay, so we get a sequel. It could be Sinestro Corps versus the Green Lantern, and you may have something here. But alas, we never got any more, thankfully. And yeah. I did have 2 just pop in my head. Honorable mentions. They were Superman 3.
I got Superman 4 on my list.
You know what? I can enjoy part 4. Nuclear Man was just enough to make me somewhat enjoy it. But Superman going on a quest for peace against cigarette companies and Richard Pryor. I love Richard Pryor, the comedian. He should not be a Superman.
No.
This was long before the buddy cop.
I was
funny back and forth because it was not done well.
I was torn between picking 3 and 4, and I went with 4 just because I was like,
I felt like 4 was the easy one. Like, Because at first I thought about that, and I was like, but you know what? You do get the little battle there, and you got Lex Luthor still. Even though there's a lot of camp and cheesiness they put into that one there versus the first two, it was still a step up from 3.
That's fair.
Because it's almost like you set the bar so high with 1 and 2, and they shit the bed with 3, and then you just barely creep back up to where it's solid turds versus runny with part 4.
That's fair. I guess for me, 4 was like the one that's like, at least you do get a super powered fight in 4.
Yeah. With the growling nuclear man.
So what was the other one that popped in your head that you said?
Actually, one of my favorite characters, Ghost Rider 2.
That's on my honorable. Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. That's the second one.
Yeah, because you know what? They took a lot of liberties with the first one, but I can enjoy the first one, even though it's not really
still fit the character.
Yeah, I mean, it had a lot of Johnny Blaze in it. It did have that, even though they kind of meshed a lot of Danny Ketch mannerisms and look. It's 100% Danny's look, but they meshed a lot of stuff. I can enjoy the first one. That second one, though, is just a muddled mess. Like they just wanted to put a movie out.
The things that got me in the second one that immediately turned me off to it, and like you said, it is a mess. And it's like they had no inkling of who Ghost Rider was as a character and what he should be. So every time Johnny's starting to turn into Ghost Rider, he's laughing like the freaking Joker, like he's going insane. I'm like, he doesn't go insane. He trades places with the spirit.
Yeah,
there's nothing funny about it.
No.
And then when he pisses Hellfire off the back of that truck, you remember that scene where he
remember
unzips his pants and then he
fucking theater. I was like, "Are you shitting me?"
Yeah, when he unzips and pees Hellfire off the back of the truck, I was like, "This is the worst thing I have ever seen in this." How does that
I'm
even
literally
make sense?
one of the biggest Ghost Rider fans you will fucking meet. And Howard Mackey, if you're ever watching this, since we're trying to line you up for here, just say I'm shameless plug. I'm a huge Ghost Rider fan, and even I was like,
that was just pandering to the lowest denominator. And how did it even make sense? How would he even be peeing?
Yeah,
he's a
like
skeleton
even,
with burning fire around him. There's nothing there to use.
Yeah, even taking Hamdall out of Asgard and turning him into an angel didn't save this movie. I mean, and I love that cat that plays that actor, but I just like, oh man.
So you brought those up, and I've piggybacked off of those. So I've got one honorable mention left. How many do you have?
That was pretty much the ones I had thought of.
So I've got one more that I've got to put out there, and it pains me because there's the movie that preceded it was really great, and then this one was just like they went too far with what they were doing. But Thor: Love and Thunder.
Okay.
Thor 4 and 7 years ago, whatever you want to call it, like the third one, the comedy was mixed very well with like the action and the story plotline made sense, and the comedy was like more so because he didn't understand he was being funny. It's like they were purposely trying for him to understand he's being funny in this one, and it's like it doesn't work.
They made this one into a rom-com.
Yes, it did. And I like rom-coms.
I swear he went wrong with this one. Well, I mean, it just doesn't fit the MCU. I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't. And I like rom-coms and stuff, but this just did not fit the characters. It's just pushed it so far into the realm of, okay, this is bad. How do we bring this back? Let's walk backwards here a little bit. That's
actually the biggest gripe I have with the cinematic MCU version of Thor. He's a fucking idiot.
Yes.
I mean, they literally have made him into a blithering idiot, and I get it. It kind of works for a movie, and then they just didn't ever go back. But Thor is not a fucking idiot. I mean, he's headstrong.
That didn't happen to the third one, and he wasn't that dumb in the Avengers movies. So in the first one, he was immature, and that's where his idiocy came in the first one, right?
Yeah.
He was just a dumb kid in their terms. But he learned by the end of it, oh no, I can't be this way. In the second one, he was pretty serious for most of the second one. For the Avengers movies, he was always fairly serious. I mean, even when he popped up in the first one and made a few jokes about Iron Man and Captain America arguing and how they're not gods and stuff, it still was like, he's making fun of them, but it fits the character. It's just the immaturity that pops out in him, but he's still serious. Even in Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, When he lands in Infinity War, like, bring me Thanos, he's badass.
Yeah.
And like when he tells the little dwarf guy, or Eteri, whatever his name, I can't think of his name for a minute. When he tells him, yeah, he's like, you opening that will be open, like taking on the full power of a sun. He's like, okay. And what was it he told him? He said it will kill you. He said, only if I die. I'm like,
fair enough.
That's just his brash nature and stuff. But it wasn't stupid. Then you get to Thor 3, and it's like everything is like he just didn't understand anything. He was a dummy. And 4, it got like 10 times worse.
Yeah, I'm not big on that right here. I mean, this is a guy who, at one point, has the wisdom of Odin.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not expecting him to be Tony level Peter Parker, Reed Richards smart.
No,
but he's not
never.
a complete blithering idiot either.
Mm-mm.
And that's kind of how they played him, which is what kind of turned me off to 4. And I will say,
when I say wisdom of Odin, it's as I say, wisdom of a wise ruler.
Yeah,
those are not always technologically sound guys, but they're wise rulers.
Yeah, so that's fair. So, did you have any other honorable mentions, or was that all of yours too?
No, I think we pretty well rounded our bases pretty good on this DS award-winning comic book movie episode.
So, with that, let's take everybody straight to Nerd Out. We have been here for a little bit, but we're actually on time for once and not running long. But let's go straight to Nerd Out. So, anybody who hasn't been here, this is part of the show. We ask random questions about topics of the day, respond with little to no prep time, and we would love to hear your answers to our questions, or you expand upon our answers in the comment section. We'd like to see that. We like to try to be interactive with that as much as possible. So feel free to jump in. And Hassel, I've got a question prepared. I don't know if you did.
I'll go right ahead. Shoot.
All right. So we've been talking about bad comic movies, and I don't want to talk about a bad one anymore, but I do want to ask the question. What comic book property, not a Marvel or DC, so it can be from any other imprint, it hasn't been made into a movie or a TV show, live action version, would you want to see made?
Wow. So no other inclined incarnations, animated or live.
I would say live. I don't look at the animated the same way, because you can make a superhero movie, cartoon, or whatever animated and make it be whatever you want, but bringing it and translating into live action is not always the easiest thing to do.
Wildcats.
That was I've got two, because I don't know which one I would choose, but that was one of the possible choices for me.
I would love to see Wildcats brought to the big screen, but with proper funding and acting, and
Yeah, and I had them as my. I'm torn between two choices, but Wildcats was one. The other was Youngblood.
That's a great one there too.
I think the Youngblood one would be interesting, because you got the whole intrigue of there being government superheroes, and you could have the government actually using them or kind of working against them at the same time, or feeding them bad information, and they're doing what they're supposed to do, but it's all stage type stuff. So you can see how that could. There's a lot of ways you could play that with them.
It'd be a good one. Okay. So with that being said, so you went with good ones. What failed property out of what we discussed today would you like to see given a proper showing? And do you have an idea for how that would work?
Ooh, I'd have to go with Green Lantern. There's so much history right there. I mean, Flash is the same way. They're same age characters, right? So there's a lot of history, but with Green Lantern, you got so many different choices for characters. You can do the full core. You can go to space. You can do Sinestro War. You could do a full trilogy of it. For me, I'd do a trilogy. I'd do origin of Hal Jordan as Green Lantern. Then I'd come back for a second movie and be a few years later and have Guy Gardner and John Stewart have been picked as possible replacements on Earth, and they're training along with Hal. And I'd go straight into the Sinestro Corps War. And then coming out of that, you could come out of that after they fought Sinestro, because that's who trained Hal, and he turned bad, and Hal's been training Guy and John and stuff, and you could go straight into a storyline there with that where they go against the Sinestro Corps, and it's the Green Lantern Corps versus Sinestro Corps. And then I would pick up after that one, come back a few years later, and probably either do Rage of the Red Liners and have the Red Liners against the yellow and the green, and kind of a three-way fight, or I would just go straight into Blackest Night and do that. I feel like you'd have to do a fourth or fifth movie to do Blackest Night because I feel like you got to build the other cores too. But at that point, when you come back and you do the third one, you could introduce Kyle as well. Actually, I'd do the third one and do against the Red Liners and introduce Kyle, and then at the end of that movie, you could show the other Lantern cores, and you could have the Guardians explain Larfleeze and the Orange Lantern and stuff, and then you could do a fourth.
That would be such a fun character to see on the big screen too.
Yeah,
it would almost be like a Gollum. Like it would be that level of that. Just something about it. It's just lovable enough, you know.
Get the same actor, was Andy Serkis or whatever his name is.
Oh God, yes.
Get him to do the motion capture and the voice and everything, and then have Jim Henson's Muppet Shop make up what he's going to look like, and you're good.
Man, I'm all for that, Monster. You got me. I'll take 2 tickets to that.
I think I would do it as. We always want to do 6, but I think I would just do it as 5. Just kind of origin, Sinestro Corps War, and introduce John and Guy. Go to Kyle and the next one and introduce the Red Liners, and now John and Guy are experienced and Kyle's a new kid on the block, but they're all going against the red ones. And then in the red movie, you could introduce the Blue Lanterns. By the end of it, you could introduce Larfleeze and the Star Sapphires if you wanted to, and then you could go straight into Blackest Night out of that for, and maybe Blackest Night might be long enough to do a 2-movie cut of it. But that would be me.
That's what's
so. What would you do?
You already know, brother. Ghost Rider. Without a doubt, it would be a 2-picture deal. I focus on Danny Ketch because I think they've just done enough muddling and just messing up with Blaze. So we start fresh with Danny Ketch in the current day, and I would pretty much adapt that first, say, 6 issues or so of the comic. Where Blackout and Death Watch are the primary villains. You got Caretaker shows up.
Great.
He's being adverse with the authorities, but yet at the same time, his girlfriend Stacey Dolan is a detective and a cop. So like he's literally getting shot at by his girlfriend that don't know he's Ghost Rider. That would be my first movie, and then we would have a teaser at the tail end with Lilith trying to resurrect Zarthos, and that's what my part 2 will be. Johnny Blaze would show up in part 2, and I would bring Nicolas Cage back as old grizzled Johnny Blaze with a Hellfire shotgun. No fucking supernatural powers beyond that. And we would branch into Midnight Suns, Zarthos, Lilith, the works. That would be fucking great. I'd probably even have Vengeance show up.
I would watch that. That would be very good. So my only question on that would be, and actually, what you'd have to do with the Midnight Suns is bring Wesley Snipes back as Blade too.
Absolutely.
My only question for your Johnny Blaze with Nicolas Cage playing, where do you start the wig at? On the front, or where his natural hairline starts?
No.
And I can say that because I don't have any. So
he has the widow's peak. It starts in the front and just keeps flowing.
Johnny had a mane when he came back, and it was a nice flowing one.
He did, and yeah, I could get enjoyment out of that though.
Oh man. Well, I am going to cough myself to death here. So before I do that, let's tie up the show here. We've had a very fun time talking about our topic and the nerd out, but with that, I think it's time we close out. But before we leave, Hassel, tell everybody where they can find us at.
Man, we are on Facebook. We're via Hassel Hutchinson, the Nerdy Manroom Show. Instagram, the Nerdy Manroom Show. Twitter, Nerdy MR Show. And we are on TikTok, YouTube, Nerdy Manroom Show.
And don't forget, we're part of Geek Network now. So when you're checking out Geek Network, if you're interested in joining them and joining up with us and doing more reviews and interviews, because we are still looking for more folks to help out with that, check out the graphic that we'll drop on the screen here for all the details of how to apply to join. And while you're checking them out, don't forget to go check out our extended Nerdy Manroom family member, Big Rob. You can find him on his channel, Big Rob's House of Entertainment and No Chinese Food.
No Chinese Food.
Where lately he's been doing...
Monster.
He does. And lately, he's been doing a lot of toy hunts. What he needs to start doing with toy hunts is just leaving a button in random places and see what people find and look it up.
That is what's right there. It's gold. It's gold, Big Rob.
He likes to go into Ollie's and Ross's and Target's, not Target, TJ Maxx looking for the toys. So what he should do is just go find a random shirt, put the button on it, and leave while he's in there.
As I say on the Righteous Gemstones, I'm just shitting gold here for you.
But make sure you go check him out. And then also go check out our sponsor. We want to give them a big thank you for sponsoring the show. Trying to get through without coughing. These Old Collectibles. You can find them on the internet at theseowncollectibles@gmail.com and on Facebook at These Own Collectibles or in their store at 305 Main Street, Tifton, Georgia. Visit them for all your nerdy needs and help them support the local artist community by supporting their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms unite. And check out the end credits after the show. I'm not going to try and go through those too much because I would cough way too much, but there'll be a special shout out and thank you to all of our friends and Geek Network family members that support us. So check out their stuff in the credits and go check out their sites. And with that, I think we're done here, Hassel. But everybody, join us here next time. I think we're trying to line up a very special guest interview for next time. Until then, live nerdy and hopefully you receive rave reviews.